Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam, and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Varsity by Minty Beans Games Lab.
Sam, did you like high school?
No.
But you might like Varsity, where you are basically the athletic director slash principal, I suppose, of your very own high school. This is a game that is from designer John Bratt, who, full disclosure at the top of this video, I'm a friend of and got to play this in development. And so just want to throw that out there. It's not going to make me biased in one way or the other, but I do want to have full disclosure on that. In this game, you are going to be drafting student athletes to your different teams. You've got football, basketball, track, wrestling, baseball, soccer, and you will be competing against the other players or the other high schools to see who's the better varsity team, and ultimately trying to win state championships for the most part points. And you're going to be hiring teachers and coaches along the way. Let's check this out down below, and then we'll come back and share thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. Alright, here's Varsity, the game of high school sports on the table. Let me show you guys how this game about running a high school, kind of being the athletic director or principal for a high school, is going to work. Now, I do want to point out everything you do see in this video is going to be prototype. The final artwork, components, and rules may change once it's released from crowdfunding. That being understood, let's get into this. Now, you do have a big player boards, and these are going to fold in on themselves like accordion style, and like so. And you have the Rose Hill Tigers. You've got the Woodview Eagles. You've got the Gold Lake Bulldogs, the Black Mountain Bears, the Green Valley Wolves, and then lastly, the Riverfield Badgers. Now, each of these are going to be identical. It's just the mascot and the colors are different. And so you pick whatever color and mascot works best for you. You also are going to have cards in this game. You've got teacher cards and student cards. We'll come back to what those are here in just a minute. You do have a plethora of other tokens and meeples that will be active throughout the course of the game, and I'll show you those as we explain the rules. And you have this main board out here, which is going to keep track of the rounds and the turns for each round, because you are going to be playing throughout the days of the week, simulating what your different sports teams are doing as they get prepared for Friday when they compete in their big games. Now, on Monday of a round, how this is going to work: somebody will be the first player, and at the beginning of the game, you will have teacher cards dealt to you. Now, these teacher cards, they are going to have a number of things on them, such as Mr. Rogers here. He's going to have a name. He's going to have a subject that he teaches, a number of victory points that he gives you at the end of the game, so long as you have played him, and sports that he is eligible to coach, and then an ability that he can do at the bottom. There will be artwork on these cards at the once it's released from crowdfunding. And you can see here that each teacher is different, teaching a different subject. If they teach electives, that means they're wild. They can teach anything you need them to teach, and this is important because throughout the course of the game, there may be certain subjects that your students may flunk if they're not good in that particular subject. But if you have teachers that teach that subject, they can rescue kids. They can get them to be eligible. And the icons here on the side, what that means is, so Mr. Gerdner here, he can coach basketball or wrestling. And so whenever I play Mr. Gerdner, I'm going to set him over to the side when I play him, but I could use him as my basketball or my wrestling coach. And so we're going to say he is our basketball coach, and you take one of these meeples here and you put them in the first open box underneath the sport that you are saying that person is your coach. And what that's going to do, that is going to give you a bonus for whenever you play that sport against the other players at the table. I get 3 extra points because I have a basketball coach. We'll come back to what some of these other bonuses are here in just a minute, but you can hire up to 4 coaches for each sport. Now, that's the way the teachers go, excuse me. You will get new teachers throughout the course of the game. The students are a bit different. Now, the students, you are going to draft for these students. There will be a number of these dealt out in the middle of the table, and starting with whoever the first player is, they will select their first student, then the second player will go, third, fourth, fifth, however many players there are, and then you will snake draft. So what that means is that whoever drafted last will get to draft first, selecting their second athlete, and then it will go in reverse player order, meaning the first player will get the first pick and the last pick for student athletes. So what these student athletes do for you, they are going to have a name and some artwork, but they are also going to have their different stats for the different sports that they play in. So Anna Maria here, she's going to score you 3 points in football, 4 in track, but nothing in basketball. But she will give you 3 points in soccer, which is really important because these sports are thematically weighted to how they would be in real life, because you're going to score more points in basketball than you ever would in baseball or in soccer. And 3 points in soccer is as good as it gets, 1 to 3 here. So Anna Maria is a soccer stud, but she's not good at basketball at all. So you do have to think about that as you are drafting these players, because when you take a student athlete, you immediately assign them to one of your sports here. So I would probably say, well, Anna Maria, you are going to be our first soccer player. Yay, we have a soccer team. And she's going to score me 3 goals whenever we play soccer. Now, if I had a soccer coach, that would give me 1 extra point, so I have a total of 4. And you can see how this is going to keep track throughout the course of the game. The more points I score, the better that I will do when I play the other schools, the other teams, the other players throughout the game. Now, that is getting students. But how a round works in this game, the first thing that you would do normally, that's all part of setup, what I've just shown you there, is that you would flip over one of these game day cards. Now, these game day cards, they are going to show you what 4 sports you will be competing again in for that particular week. And it's different for each card. So you're not playing all of these sports every time, just the 4 that show up on the game day card. And you keep track of these 4 by using these tokens here. So this particular card says that we are competing in track and field, basketball, soccer, and wrestling. And we put those tokens there to remind us that those are the 4 sports that we're playing in. We are not playing in football or baseball. So that is Monday. Tuesday is when you would draft new students. And so you are going to add more students to your teams. You can have an unlimited number of players for each team. There is not a roster limit. But the catch is that when you place these students where they are, they're probably going to stay there for much of the game, because you are only allowed to move a certain number of students as the game goes on to differing teams. Because as is the case in real life in high school, you probably play more than one sport if you play sports at all. Now, on Wednesday, you are going to pick which of the other schools, which of the other high schools, the other players that you will be competing against for the different sports. Starting with whoever is the first player, they will choose one of the other players to compete in the first sport that they're competing in, starting from left to right. Now, track is a little bit different, because in track, you compete against everyone at the table, and it's just to see who has the most points, and whoever does have the most points, they will win a number of things depending on player count here. Second gets something, and third might get something as well. But all the other sports are going to work a little bit different. I look at the other players, and I see what their basketball score is going to be, and as you can see, my basketball team's not great at all. We aren't going to score very many points, so I want to go against the weakest player in basketball, so maybe I go against the Bulldogs here. And I would put my token here to indicate that, and they would have to assign their token to show that they are playing against me, the Riverfield Badgers. There would be a blue circle on their board, and they would put their token in that blue circle. And then it would go to the second player, who would decide who they want to play against in soccer, and they would pick, and then the third player would pick who they want to go against in wrestling. Hopefully you get the idea for how that works. And then you know who you will be going up against for that particular sport by the end of the week. On Thursday, you are going to be able to play more teacher cards and make player changes depending on what week it is. There are 5 weeks in the game, and as the game progresses, you will get to make more and more changes to your different rosters. You'll be able to move these students over to different sports, and so hopefully you can outweigh your competition to score more points. The teachers that you play will, as I mentioned, give you added benefits, putting in coaches, because, as I mentioned already, you can get bonuses by hiring your first coach. Your second coach that you hire is going to give you a captain ability. Now, the captain token is going to get assigned to a student that you have assigned to basketball. Emily here, she's not good in basketball either. Neither is Jaden. My goodness, where's a good basketball star? Here we go, Sergio. Sergio is going to give me 10 points in basketball, and whenever I hire my second coach, I can make one of my student athletes for that team the team captain. Now, what that's going to do is Sergio can never be affected by the eligibility check. And so if there's a subject here, social studies, for instance, then any of my students who are not academically inclined, they are going to be subject to failing for that week, and they will be ineligible. Now, if I have some teachers here, social studies here, Miss Siver, for instance, she's able to rescue one student athlete because she teaches the subject that is in question here, social studies. And so she could rescue one of the other student athletes that's not... here we go. She could rescue Sun because she does not have the academically inclined icon on her. And that would be really good because otherwise, if I don't rescue Sun, she is not going to be able to compete for me for that week, and I would have to turn her face down. I don't get to use any of her stats. Not a good thing. But otherwise, if you have a team captain, then they are not affected by the academic ineligibility, nor are they affected by any teacher abilities. So they are pretty much exempt from all negative effects. That's a really good thing. The third coach that you hire for a particular team, placing a third meeple there, they will get you an automatic victory token that you get to assign to that particular sport, and you keep that on the bottom track here. And that's important because whoever ultimately has the most of these at the end of the game for each of the different sports, they are going to win state championship trophies, and these are worth victory points. You get 10 for being first in a particular sport, 6 for being second, and 3 for being third. And you can see that there is a set for each different sport. There's also going to be a set for school spirit. So this kind of takes into account cheerleaders and such. I'll come back to how this works in just a second. Now that's Thursday. And by Friday, you are ready to compete. You've moved your student athletes around. You've hired your coaches, and you're ready to go. Now, how this is going to work, you look at who you are competing against for that particular sport. You add up all the points on all your student athletes that are academically eligible for you. You add in any bonuses that you have there, and some of the cards that you play will give you additional bonuses that you will be able to attach to certain players depending on what kind of icons they have on their card. You add up all of those numbers, and whoever has the higher number wins for that particular week. You get another victory token that you keep track of down here at the bottom of the board, and you will get some school spirit tokens. Now these are just going to be simple tokens that you will keep track of here in this spot, and you'll keep track of that particular week, and there may be some other things for you if you play certain cards that can give you additional bonuses, but also whoever has the most school spirit after all the sports have been played for that particular week, they are going to win an additional victory token, and they will get an additional coach, a little coach meeple that you can assign to any one of your sports. Second place is going to get a victory token, and third place is going to get a coach. And then you will just set aside all of your school spirit to keep in a different pile right over here to the side of the board, because whoever has the most school spirit by the end of the game after 5 rounds, they will win the state championship trophies for school spirit. Again, 10 for first, 6 for second, and 3 for third. After 5 rounds, you will add up all of your trophies, all the state championship trophies that you have, awarding them based off of who has the most victory tokens for each sport. And you will also get points here at the bottom whenever you have hired your 4th coach in a particular sport, giving yourself 2 additional victory points. Whoever has the most points is going to be the winner, and that is how you play Varsity. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Varsity from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. And by the way, this is going to be running on crowdfunding, so check out the link down below in the description of this video to check out the campaign page after you've watched it. So Sam, this is a different kind of game. I mean, this is a definitely a thematic game.
Yeah.
It's got a different blend of mechanics, drafting, which we absolutely love drafting games typically, and kind of just moving your cards around to get them in the best spot for different events as the game progresses along the way. So what did you think about this game?
I liked it. I was a little worried because I don't do sports or know much about sports, and it's sports related.
It does have a sports theme to it,
but you don't need to know too much. It did help. I had to ask Lance and our friend who played with us why the points were
basketball scored so many more points than soccer.
And I guess that makes sense to me. I'm like, but you're putting them on a team.
Yeah.
Should it?
I think that adds to the thematic level of this game. And it explains that on the game board, as you saw in the rules portion of the overview video, that so a student athlete will score more points in basketball than they will in baseball because more points are scored in that sport. And so thematically that makes sense, and I like that aspect about it. But there's also a strategic component to it as well, because do I go for that student who's going to get me 15 points in basketball, which is really good, but maybe they don't get me anything in soccer and baseball, which is obviously not good? Do I go for maybe middle of the road and get somebody who gets me 1 or 2 runs in baseball, but maybe only 8 points in basketball? Like, I like those kind of decisions that you have to make with the drafting process in this game. Let's talk about complexity level wise. Is this a difficult game for you to understand as a non-gamer?
No, I don't think so. I think you kind of have to play a little bit to start getting the hang of it, but it's pretty straightforward. You draft, and then you choose a sport, and then you choose a teacher, and the same thing repeats itself.
Yeah.
So you get the hang of it. There's not so much strategy that you're stressed.
No, and in fact, I think what I like best about this game that I think can make it work really well with casual and non-gamers, aside from the fact that it is so thematic and it's so unique. I can't think of any other board game in the world out there that you're basically running a high school.
Yeah.
Is the fact that your strategy is pinpointed down to, well, who am I going up against this week in baseball, for instance? Oh, I'm going up against Jim over there, and he's going to be scoring 5 runs. So I've got to figure out, do I move some things around to score 6 runs? Or do I keep it how it is because I don't want to screw up my other teams? Yeah. And that's the pinpoint strategy of where am I making a decision now to try and win now, or do I maybe keep it where it is so I can make sure I win tomorrow kind of idea.
Yeah.
I like that aspect of it. And drafting the cards like we just spoke about, the stats on the different players, that's an interesting component to it as well. I just think this game is incredibly unique. For me, that adds tons of bonus points to it because I don't know of any other game that's like that. Let's talk about fun factor for you, Sam. How fun was this game?
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. I liked the teachers. I liked how, depending on what teacher you're getting, they're going to increase the chances of your team winning. If you have a science teacher, then they're gonna, you won't have a kid on academic probation that is into science. And then you can have a coach, or it wasn't a coach, a captain.
Oh, captain.
And that kid never was going to be on academic probation.
Nothing bad can happen to the captain. They're top of the line student.
And so I liked the things that kind of helped you out along the way.
Yeah. you can unlock different bonuses by hiring more coaches to a particular team and kind of really build up that team. But at the same time, you're also wanting to, you know, spread your resources out so that you can win in multiple sports and hopefully get more championships at the end of the game. So there's a lot of good decisions throughout the course of the game. And for me, it's a game that feels interesting from beginning to end. There's not a dull moment in the game, I don't feel like. So I highly enjoyed this particular game. I was more familiar with John's other game, Executive Producer, before really getting familiar with this one. And I'm really glad that I got to try out this one and experience what Varsity is all about. So it's a really interesting game. I highly recommend it. One that you would recommend with casual and non-gamers?
Yeah, it was perfect.
Okay, well, there you have it. That's our thoughts on Varsity. It is from Minty Beans Games Lab. Check out the campaign page down below after you've watched this video and leave us some comments. Let us know what you think about this game.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.